whichever
I can
flow.
see.
Okay, awesome. All right. Participants can now see your screen. All right, I love that. All right, so keys to grant writing is what we're going to be discussing today. Hopefully everything cooperates. All right, so about me. I am a grant writer, grant strategist. And so why I call myself a strategist is because I look at the grant ecosystem holistically, or the fundraising space holistically. It's not just, oh, let's get some money, let's get some grants. It is also about making sure that we have sustainability, that we have a strong network, that we understand actually what we need. I'm a seminar host as well. I work with an organization in Georgia called the Southern Partners Fund. They do yearly, what is it called? They do yearly cohorts where they have groups or clusters of nonprofit organizations. And I discuss with them vision, mission, and goals, how to network, how to build your board, keys to grant writing, keys to proposal writing, establishing a vision. A lot of times we're stumped because we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Also, I've been a part of about $7 million in fundraising. So that's been through, especially specifically in COVID, a lot of the grants, it was just money being thrown around everywhere. And then also applying for applications, loan applications, things like that. Also donor to donor fundraising, specific things like that. And also my day job, I am a program and management analyst for federal student aid in the digital communications section. So basically I'm a lead PM there, and I do not have a college degree. So it is possible without certifications and things like that. I am a Scrum Master, but I'm not a PMP. And I'm striving towards those things, but they haven't happened for me yet. And it's just like my life is just one of those things where things kind of happen out of order, but what you would think they would go. Especially how much I like lists, you would think that I would have been having my degree, but I don't. I'm currently in school right now, and I just made the dean's list. So I'm excited about that. I know at our last meetup when we went to Gringos, we were talking about me taking fast track courses. I've taken 12 so far. And I just got my second notice that I've made the dean's list for my second session of courses. So I'm very proud of that. Yeah, so enough about me. Let's get to the work. Yes. So tonight's goals are to identify the basic structure and key elements of a grant proposal, define what, some very basic grant writing concepts, because this is like literally like a whole job. So I could not define it within the few minutes that we're going to have here. And I'm going to try to keep it brief because I am long-winded. And then also discussing strategies for effective grant writing. Let's see if that does that. All right. So what is a grant? So basically a grant is a gift with conditions. It's free money technically, but there is always going to be some strings attached. Never think that anybody's just going to hand you some money with nothing in return. A grant is also a funding source that identifies the problem they want to address, but no outcome is known. So if you have my personal motto is that I am the solution to someone's problem, whether it be grant writing, whether it be project management, or all the other things that I might know how to do or know how to figure out. Because sometimes I don't know how to do it, but I can figure it out. I am the solution to someone's problem. And so when you're looking at, hey, I want to apply for a grant as a for-profit business, a nonprofit business or entity, et cetera, you have to think about what problem am I solving? Is this something that's actually in need? Or it's just like, I just felt like I wanted to make, sweaters that only covered my shoulders. And it's like, it's 117 degrees every day out here. Why are you making sweaters? Like, you have to make sure that it actually makes sense. And it may not be that it doesn't make sense everywhere. It just not makes sense in your area. So you need to make sure that you're in the right position, the right location, with the right people to actually make sure that what you're asking for is relevant. Okay, I see I have a question. And of course, can you just go ahead and call out can somebody read the question for me? Because I can't, I'm trying to, my mouse is acting up. All I saw was, do we have to be, and then I can't see the rest.
Oh, I'll come off. It was me. Do we have to be a registered business to apply for a grant?
Yes, that would be in your best interest because you will not be taken seriously. You could, because there are individual grants sometimes, but those are more seen as like scholarships and things like that. If you're getting the actual grant, again, there are conditions. So you want to make sure that you are in a space where you can make sure that you are legitimate, because you're really just a demographic to them and they have to report on what you do. So the reports that you provide for them, they have to provide reports for others, and you want to make sure you are as legitimate as possible. So if someone were to look you up, they're like, she doesn't even have a business license, or she's not affiliated with another business. She's not even a partner. It knocks your legitimacy. You don't want to be in that position because then it X's you out of other opportunities that you might be perfect for. Hopefully that answered your question. Yes. Okay. And last thing, a grant is a solution that, or an idea or solution that originates with a grantee. So the business or organization. So what's your idea? And so we're going to get to that because there's questions that I ask every single one of my clients or potential clients before they start. So again, what is grant writing? It's the actual grant writing is the practice of completing an application process for financial grant provided by an institution such as the government department, corporation, foundation, or trust. So those are different types of grant where you can get grants from. So funders can be the government, that's federal or state level. Funders can be private families, those philanthropic families that you hear about that just kind of provide these endowments, or they take over orphanages and things like that. It could be a corporation that's like, hey, we have a outreach arm that we want to be able to make sure that we're giving back directly into our communities. And just as a side note or a pro tip, that if you have a for-profit business, you always want to make sure that there's an element of outreach in your business. I don't care if you help one person a year. That means you have 100% success rate. It's about how you frame it. But you can't just be individualistic in grants. If you want that money, you have to show that you are giving back in some way. So if that's training someone else to do what you do, you quantify that and give it a dollar value so that it makes sense, and say, I gave away $10,000 worth of work, but that could mean $2,500 a quarter with free training that I provided. So Star, we know she does a million things, right? But if she decided she wanted to train someone on graphic design, if that training is worth $10,000 to do her entire package, she just gave away $10,000 worth of work. So you see how that makes sense? Because, and it's a level of outreach, it's 100% success rate because she trained one person, and then she can quantify that into dollars and cents when she presents herself and applies for grants. So hopefully that made sense. And then last thing, what is grant writing? Again, it's much more than these two items, but it is successful grant writing requires a clear understanding of grantsmanship, the art of grant writing. You can't just get out there and say, hey, I'm Black, I'm a woman, give me some money. You could, but you would not. No, you probably wouldn't. You could do that in some settings, but not the ones that are legitimate, that don't throw change at you or dollars, etc. Right? Give me some money. You know, it's a little more formal than that, and so you have to make sure you take consideration of that. All right, so grant proposals components. So it's methods, activities, and timelines. So how you do it. So just the breakdown. So basically you're filling out an application, very simple. The activity or procedure, again, you writing goals and objectives, you're given a budget. It's always gonna be the same. And then the timeline, how long is it gonna take for you to do that? So you're gonna fill out an application, you're gonna add all the pieces to it, right? And then how long is it gonna take you to do that? And I have another side for the same one. Then it's gonna be an evaluation. Then you have to talk about sustainability, like, how do I make this go? And one question that funders often ask, and I have very close relationships with some funders, is if we didn't give you the money, would this still happen? Because some people are like, well, if they don't give me this money, then what am I going to do? First of all, grants are not guaranteed. They don't owe you anything. They can make a suggestion, they can offer it, they can make the opportunity available, but they don't have to give you any money. A lot of people are like really frustrated. I get that often, more than you would know. People are like, well, I qualified. So that's how they feel too. So what? You qualified in what else? What else? How do you make this work? Are you willing to do this out of your own pocket? Are you willing to have a fundraising plan, which I talked about earlier, which is direct donations. So like recurring donations, people that give every single month, people that give out of their paychecks. There's lots of ways to do that. You have relationships where maybe you can't do directed service, but you can, donate your time to another entity that does the exact same thing you do, because it's not about competition. Those are your contemporaries. And so you have to think about all those things, like, how am I willing to hold on to this? If this is something I really want to do, is it only contingent on somebody else giving me money or doing it for me or making it happen for me? And so you have to think about those things. And then that big one at the bottom, that budget, girl, that budget. Yes, that budget. They do not play about the budget. You have to be able to tell your program narrative or your grant story in numbers and in words. So your program narrative is basically like the overview, like, hey, this is who we are, here's what we do, here's who we serve, this is how much money we need, this is why we need it, it's going to help lots of people. We give that basic breakdown, right? But then that budget, they want to know, they want to see you break it down. So you just have a full program. If you have just this one project, I just want to be able to give socks to redheaded puppies every June because that's my heart's work, right? That's you, that's your thing. Then you need to be able to show how you're going to do that. How much do the socks cost? Where are these puppies coming from? Are you going to a puppy shelter? Do you have to pay a stipend to be there? Are you renting time? Will you need volunteers? Will they need a stipend? Will you have to give them gas cards? If so, how much? Will you need to market? If you so, how much? Are you going to run ads on television? Uh, if so, how much? How many? How much is that going to cost? Miscellaneous costs. Do you have you quantified those? Will you need X, Y, and Z? That's how many things are happening on that budget. And you can't just be like, oh, just give me $100,000. Girl, okay. Let somebody come ask me out my bank account. Girl, could you just real quick, could you just sell me $10,000? Oh. So you got to think about it like that. They're treating it like it's their money. And so you want to make sure, right, give me a bid. Just, it's real easy. It's easy. You got it. Yeah, but that don't mean I should give it to you. And so you have to make sure that you're thinking about those things at all times. And again, I know I'm breezing through this. But I want to make sure we can get to everything. So again, that budget narrative, what I just explained, you got to be able to talk about it in numbers and in words. So you've already given your program narrative, which is my grant story. I'm great and I'm benevolent and I give away things, or I'm making a difference, or I make hair weaves for gerbils and it gives them self-confidence, and that's what you're saying in that program narrative, right? Then the budget narrative is saying, I purchased the hair weave from this Botswatan small village, and then I get it dyed in Chile, and then they ship it to the US for me to be able to make my hair weaves for the forlorn gerbils. You got to be able to break that down in dollars and cents. And you got to be able to say that again in words. So it's not just give me some money. It's this is who I am. Here's what I do. Here's who I serve. This is how much money I need. You can't skip over those things. You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. That's not how I was a part of $7 million in funding. I had to learn. So I've said this a few times already. Questions every grantee that should be able to answer. Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? And how much money do you need? Even if you are not a nonprofit, you are in service to someone. You're in service to your audience. You're in service to your customer, your client, etc. So who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? How much money do you need? When people say, hey, Jess, I want to have a conversation with you. I'd like to get a consultation. Before I even let them do a paid consultation, I put a buffer and I give them a survey. And the survey is asking basically these questions. Have you ever applied for a grant? Who are you in service to? If you have applied for a grant, have you won before? Because then you'll understand how much work it is, and you'll be like, that's why you're looking for somebody else. You're not just like, man, all I need is $10,000. If that's not realistic, if you're making chinchilla, lined, house shoes for elderly, where you getting the chinchilla fur from? How much is it going to cost? Is $10,000 just for the fur? So you're going to use money out your own pocket. Again, we're thinking about sustainability. We're thinking bigger than what is happening right in front of us. Not, I just need $10,000 to get through the next couple months. They want to know about sustainability. So when you're thinking about, I need grants, or I need money, or I need extra money, grants are not extra money for like pocket change to buy a house, to get you that Lamborghini you've been always wanting in pink. Grants is money that will serve a purpose, and grants always have conditions. They always have conditions. So when you're thinking about it, again, who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? How much money do you need? When you're doing these applications, in some way, shape, or form, there's going to be some iteration of those questions being asked. All right. I know this is a lot. I'm throwing a lot at you. It's a lot going. It's a lot happening. And then the last thing is metrics. So a lot of these When we're going and we're talking about who do we serve, that's going to be based on metrics. We have to have evidence-based data that we can present to the funder to say, this is really a need. People are hungry. People live in food deserts. People are food insecure. Children depend on being able to go to school during the summer to be able to eat for that day because they may not have food at home. So thinking about things bigger than just what's happening right in front of me. Well, I just want to give, Lunchables, to kids with blue eyes. And you're like, okay, rock out. But what about everybody else? And if it's just blue eyes, what's special about the blue-eyed group? What makes them have a bigger need than everyone else? And so that's where you get to go and do your research and present evidence-based metrics, because that's where we do the talking. That's added inside of your budget narrative, which is the words that are connected to the numbers that get you the money that you need, right? But having evidence-based metrics gives you insight, or gives the funder insight and says, hey, why am I doing this? Where does this connect? Is there really a need? And then adding on top of that a level of innovation. Because when you come with these things, so many people don't have them. You'd be surprised. It puts you in front of it makes you stand out in front of everybody else. Now, again, I realize I just rambled, but who has questions? I'm happy to answer. I'm ready. You can come off mute, come on camera, whichever one. If you have any, and no question is a silly question. I know that stops people from asking questions sometimes, but what about, it might have been something I already mentioned earlier. It might have been something that I did not mention and I can go back to, but tell me what you want to know. I'm waiting, I'm ready. And I'm trying to open the chat. It just won't open for me like I wanted to. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, it's Stacy again. So my
Hi.
question is, as you go through the grant writing process, and let's say that you fill out all of the paperwork and you submit it, is there a point where there's like a follow-up where they say, okay, where the grant was placed on hold or denied for X reason, and you can go back and resolve the reason or the lack of information, or give more context and then resubmit it again? Or is it better to have someone else look over the grant before you actually submit it? Because once it's no, it's no.
It depends on the funder and what their rules or stipulations are. Normally, if you are denied a grant, it's normally they will give you a scorecard, or sometimes it's like how when you apply for a job and it's just like they'll either ghost you or just say they'll only announce who won and don't say anything about who didn't win. So you can always go back and speak to the program manager or program officer and say, hey, is there a way that you could provide feedback on why I didn't get this? Was it that I was missing information? And then ask, and a lot of times, especially if it's government entities, so state, city level, et cetera, they have to be able to show, because they have to, again, they have to do reporting as well. They will have to show who won. And then a lot of times they'll have to show their applications. They'll redact information, but it'll be live on their websites within like a month or so. And you can go and do comparisons. And so for the next time that they provide that funding, you can say, oh, I was missing this, I was missing that. Sometimes it's how you articulated the information. Other times it's, I was missing my whole budget. I had 3 lines on that budget and I didn't get everything I needed. And so you want to be able to put yourself in position, but you can always ask. That doesn't mean that they will say yes. Just like a recruiter or something like that. It could have just been, I had 500 people and I had a time to respond to 500 people. Sometimes that's just the reason. It's not personal. But other times it's, that you're missing key things, and you ask them for some capacity building support and ask, are there pointers and things that you could provide for me to help me, because I want to get this. So I'm going to try next year. Stay hopeful, stay optimistic. Don't be all so bummed out that you cussing the people out. But that wouldn't go over well. I'm just going to tell you, it wouldn't work well. But asking questions, and then if they can't answer right then, circle back in 3 months, because there may be some information that they're holding. There may be a reason that is fixable. And normally it's always fixable, that you could do to be able to access funding the next go round when they open the opportunity again. Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Awesome. And I saw there was another question in the chat. It was from Gabby. My chat is taking forever. Okay. It says, are there stipulations to the grants? Oh, it moved. Are there stipulations to the grants, like benchmarks you have to meet? Also, how do you communicate with difficult funders? Okay, so first question, are there stipulations to the grants, like benchmarks you have to meet? Normally, it just depends on the grant funder also. So some will say in the eligibility criteria, you need to have been in business 2 years, you need to have been in business 5 years, your revenue can't be over or under this amount, et cetera. But it just depends on the funder. And so you'll see that more so with like I Fund Women, Hello Alice, that kind of stuff, because they want you to be really marketable. And you said also, how do you communicate with difficult funders? With difficult funders, normally the difficult part is when they ask for outrageous eligibility criteria. They're like, I would like a vial of the blood of your firstborn. I would like a pair of red lace underwear. I would also love your budget. I would love your last 10 tax returns. And it's just like, for what though? Like some of the stuff is just outrageous. And then you have to make a decision then, do I want to do this or not? And then what if you win the grant and they're still difficult? You just have to make sure you're on top of it. We are PMs. So basically we're Avengers, right? And so you have to make sure that you're tracking that's where your grants administration piece comes in. You need to be tracking everything. So who you are, what you do, who you serve, blah, blah, blah. Also, who to ask for money, what they say, because they're going to ask questions like, who else is funding you? Who else do you have pending opportunities with? And you have to be in a space to be able to provide an answer or not answer. And if you don't answer, you need to have some type of ready response that'll say, at this time, I'm not available to disclose who I'm in partnership with based on, blah, 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 whatever your reasons are. But you don't have to give or do anything. And if they decide that they're going to snatch the funding back, it probably wasn't worth the headache in the first place. And I've worked on both sides of that. So I've worked, especially during COVID, people were just handing out money. They're like, here you go. You want some? You can have some too. Now, it is very much an uphill battle. And some stilettos. That's 2 sizes too small, with some booty shorts and 117-degree weather. That's how it feels applying for grants in our current state. It's a lot. And you forgot to wear sunscreen. So putting yourself in a position to make sure that you have what you need, and speaking to a professional, not just me, but speaking to a professional that knows what they're doing already, makes this less of an uphill battle. It just really does, because they keep moving the goalpost literally. And then already we are at a disadvantage, because if you think about minority funding and things like that, white women are minorities as well. So white women take 90% of the funding that is set aside for minorities. So then that means we're fighting with Indigenous women, we're fighting with Latino women, we're fighting with Asian women and everything else. And then we might even be fighting with ourselves, you never know. So you have to put yourself in position to win. Are there any other, I'm about to adjourn. If you'd like to contact me, I tried to make it as easy as possible. So you can always email me. Because my business is Precise Solutions is my LLC. I'm now a Texas business owner with Migrant Gold. But here's a QR code to stay in touch, to ask questions, etc. You all get special privileges because you were BWIPPM unofficial Houston. So use that QR code, go to the Penn site, and just shoot me an email if nothing else, and just ask questions there. And I'm happy, as I have time, I will get to responses. I do have paid consultations, but I am doing some restructuring. So y'all may want to catch me now because things are about to change. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nanya. And I'm going to hop off screen and stop chattering. But thank you all for your time. I pray that something that I said was effective and that, helped out and made you feel a little bit more confident about the grant writing process. Thanks, ladies.